So, essentially what we've just done is seal my fate for the next month and a half. So despite having plans to do other things, you guys need... I just set my status to going to an event with the Bremerton Sports Car Club in a month and a half, February 22nd, whatever that just said. So what that means is I have to introduce you guys to the autocross car. It's not going to be the Cutlass. It is my 1985 Corvette. It is ugly by most people's standards and rather unconventional. I bought this car when I was 19, so 5 years ago. It was the second car I bought with my own money. Unfortunately, it was one of my dream cars. And the sad thing about some dream cars is you get them and you drive them and you're like, oh man, I got it. Finally, this is so cool. And then you drive it more and then you're like, oh man, this thing kind of sucks. I definitely had that happen. This car definitely showed me that, okay, not all cars are great. You can love Corvettes. Not all of them are perfect. All cars have their flaws, especially in the 80s when it comes to domestic vehicles. I bought this car 5 years ago to race it. I was going to build it into an autocross car. I heard plenty of people say that the early 80s Corvettes, the mid 80s, the early C4s are awesome autocross cars. You can fit like a 305 on all four corners without any modifications. They make crazy torque. The rear ends and the transmissions are super tough. They just need a suspension dialing in a little bit and a driver who is nutty enough to actually put in the time driving one of these to get good at it. I'm that guy. I'm that dumb. I'm willing to put forth that much time. Unfortunately, the car has not let me do that. Also my fault. So what we're doing today, or over the course of the next few weeks, is getting it running with the new fuel system. So super quick rundown on the engine. After I blew it apart and put it back together a bunch of times trying to figure out the hairline fracture that I couldn't figure out, I bought heads. I bought Blueprint H8002K cylinder heads. They're 160, 202, 202, 160 intake and exhaust valves. I bought 1.6 roller rockers from Comp Cams. And I got it all assembled with the new heads and put the original fuel system back on, and it worked just enough. I got it running. I ran it a little bit that night. I got it dialed in to where it was actually running. The next morning I go to start it to drive it to autocross, and it did not. As soon as I crossed the threshold of the track, I passed through the gates and it just started surging idle. And that was one of the big issues that I had. And before you message everything under the sun that's like, oh, it was probably this, it was probably that, it was probably whatever you're thinking. But I thought I had done everything in my power besides getting an entire new wiring harness and redoing all the sensors and all the stuff and checking everything for cracks and everything. It was going to be way more of a hassle, and I was so sick of it at that point. I was borderline driving this car into a bonfire. I was sick of it. So instead, I got a new fuel system, and I just kind of decided to nut up and get the ProFlow 4 XT system, which I have some clips of me putting in the cylinder heads and putting in the valve train, and I'll probably throw those in shortly. But here's the engine that we will be working on. It's covered in some goodness right now, but the old wiring harness. But here it is. So I'm going to see if I can recruit some help from some people for some of the wiring, because I suck at wiring. I will learn, but I'll learn. But I need help now, because now I'm on a time limit. And sometimes all it takes to get one of your crappy project cars running is a time limit and a goal like that. So that's my plan. And yeah, hopefully you guys will enjoy it and actually stick along for the ride. And I have plans for this thing and my driving ability to, over the course of the next few years, win a class, or at least get a few wins, get in place in one of my classes or whatever it may be. And my goal, my long-term goal, is to go to national events in this car because it is the bastard child of the Corvettes. Everybody thinks they're ugly. Everybody thinks they're lame. Except me. And maybe a handful of people. And hopefully you guys. So that's what we're doing. That's what I'm putting all my energy into for the next month and a half. And yeah. It should be fun. So first things first. Here's the ProFlow system. It's absolutely badass. It's so cool. So yeah, here's the fuel system. The massive 90mm throttle body. This thing is gargantuan. So it says they're rated to 450 horse, but I've seen people run these things pretty hard. I don't think I'll ever put this thing past 450 because I want it to be a reliable race car. But it's very far from a race car right now. I'm just going to state that right out of the box. It's got a long ways to go, but I am so beyond dumb enough to dump so much money into this thing and time and energy because I have the passion to make this thing what I've wanted it to be since I was a kid. I love Corvettes. I've always loved Corvettes. I started loving Corvettes because of my grandpa, and since I was like 7, kids in school used to call me the Corvette kid because I knew all the statistics and the specs and all the crazy stuff about Corvettes. I'm trying to figure out how to route the wiring harness. Here's the ECU, and yeah, it's a big conjumbled mess right now, but I want to get it. It's a big conjumbled mess right now, but I want to get it to where I have everything plugged in. I can start it, idle it, run it, and then start unhooking the old wiring harness. Because it doesn't need to be in there. And everything is way too jumbled right now. I already deleted AC and the smog pump, but I need to clear this thing up. But don't worry. Right now, I'm just trying to get it running so I can get back in the seat, man. I haven't been driving long enough. I haven't driven autocross in far too long. And right now, we're just trying to get it back to where I can rip this thing every time an event comes up. So that practice event will be it. Right now, for this video, all we're going to do is get the thing running and make sure it's willing to actually start every time. And then we'll actually get it to a state where, you know, I can get it to the track, thrash on it all day, and drive it back home and park it right back in here. So I'm going to finish deleting this. This is the big heater box AC unit crap, and I have to mount an ignition coil and I have to mount the ECU. So having to mount an ignition coil and an ECU, I have no room in this thing. I wish it had more fender to bolt to, but there's not a flat surface to bolt anything to, and I don't have the patience or the desire really to make some crazy bracket or redo wiring to where I can place it somewhere else or I can do all sorts of other stuff. So I'm just going to pull this crap because it's got to go anyways and it looks stupid. And then I can mount the ignition coil somewhere over here and the ECU as well. So bear with me, guys. It'll be fun. I drive this thing really, really, really hard. So it's going to be a blast. Close enough. And patience. Okay, so this, I mean, it's going to be tricky, but you know, there's a bolt there. There's a bolt back there somewhere. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I'm tearing into this heater AC box assembly, and I realized that I got to get these lines out of the way, right? And then I realized this is kind of bulky, and that is a big bar that's going to prevent me from just kind of sliding that out. Now, I'm more than confident I should be able to pull it. There's a bolt down there on the back, and there's two down there. There's this guy right here, but it's got some weird... I should be able to pull it, and I should be able to get the rest of the stuff out, but hopefully that doesn't just let the body just collapse, because these things are not like notoriously rigid entities, okay? As is the case with any automotive project ever in the history of anything, at least for me, this is taking longer than I expected, but I kept unscrewing stuff and unbolting stuff and blah, 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 and now this can come out. Thank you. All right. And then, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is actually coming out right now. I thought about doing this for so long. Look at all that room. Are you kidding me? This is so stupid. What is AC for anyways? Not race cars, and hardly ever Washington. So, heck yeah. Look at that. Heck yeah. I've been thinking about doing this for a long time, and I was talking to a guy from work. Shout out Sean. And he was just like, well, if it's your race car, tear stuff out. And I was like, well, yeah. Yeah. Now look what I did. I made a mess. I'm just kidding. This is awesome. This is good news. Now I can start routing stuff in a more comfortable manner. Mount the ECU wherever I want. And we're good to go. Alright, I figured while I had everything out and I have all this room, there's the fuel filter. I'm going to put a fuel filter in. And look at that. 111.20, my handwriting is so bad. When you finish the fuel system. So down the road, when I remove this in like a year, I'm going to laugh at my stupidity. So, okay, so after tearing out the AC and the heater box and doing all that stuff, I definitely started to get a little overwhelmed looking at the wiring again. But lucky for me, I have this really good friend, Jake, who always comes and helps me in my time of need and helps me pull myself out of the depths of that feeling where you just want to drive your vehicle into a bonfire. So we're going to start making a list to kind of isolate what we're going to do. And yeah, definitely. We're going to start making a list. Because as you can see, like there's a lot of dumb stuff. Like I got to get short plugs here and whatnot. And I'm worried about deleting stuff. But really, we're not using like hardly any of the original system, but the wiring is all integrated so weird. Like the headlight wiring is tied into all this other crap. But we're going to start making a list and hopefully just start kind of knocking things out one by one. Because now we have room to mount the ECU and the ignition coil, and we should really be trucking on this. So we started a list, and it's just kind of what we need for out of the electrical system, because that's basically all that's left is the electrical system that's keeping us from actually starting this thing. So I'm gonna get in the driver's seat and just kind of start cutting stuff. I'll label the stuff that I feel like I need to label, but I'm gonna start cutting stuff. starting with this crap, because I will need oil pressure and oil temp. These cars were so cool, because when this worked, I could just hit these switches and it would change what showed up on the dash over here, and it was awesome. But that's all going out the window. So here we go. Okay, so the plan at the moment is to remove the rest of the dash, because we're not using any of this stuff. I mean, there's a headlight, there's the headlight switch, which is stupid. Oh, that's broken. But yeah, so there's a headlight switch, so we just need to figure out where that wire, Jesus So it's got power.
It works.
It's got power. Dude, you hear those motors?
They got some crank to
They
them.
do. That's crazy. Oh, I'm going to have to find out how to bleep that. Man. But, dude, if I pull all the interior, this will turn into
It's a race car.
like an unlimited class.
Is that bad?
If I want to be anywhere near winning, yeah, kind of. But also, I guess that's not the worst thing. Probably should have done this a little ways back. Are you supposed to unhook the negative or the positive?
Negative.
Gotcha.
Well, negative first.
This is torture in a lot of ways. This is the first version of my dream car that I could buy, and now I'm just like taking a hatchet to it. But it's for the greater good of race car stuff. You know, this video was supposed to be a lot more like happy-go-lucky than it is, but we just ended up tearing in. Look at this stupid thing, man. There was a clip holding it on back there, but there's a set screw. Look at that. That's the smallest screw. That's like a screw they pulled off of sunglasses or something. Here it is. Booyah. Oh, nope. More wires.
One more
Weird.
bill cord.
One more. Oh, nope. We clipped it already. I like it. I love it. I am very excited. And I haven't seen my tunnel before. And now I've seen my trans tunnel. So I'm going to keep tearing into this because we're simplifying the system. So I'll get to use it more. So I'm fine with this. I'm good with this. I don't know who I'm trying to convince anymore. So I got the fancy dash out. The old digital dash. And there's some stuff back here. Gross. Some seeds. Should be ready to go. One thing that does suck about this though, this car, this 80s plastic, man, it's like trying to work on a big graham cracker house. It sucks. Wow, there's so much red in this shot. Oh my gosh. Like 7 different types of red. But yeah. Yeah, so that's about the extent of how quality this material is now. So I'm going to drill these out. This whole dash should come out, and then I can start dismantling the rest and make room for the ECU, possibly on the inside. That's what I'm hoping, but my hopes are soft. Yeah, we'll go with that. Cheap plastic. Ugh. If you've ever wondered what the inside of a 85 Corvette dash looks like, well, there you go. And if you have wondered, you need to use your imagination a little more and think of some more interesting things, because that'd be a real bummer if you were one of those people who was curious about that. Keep getting a lot of this crap out of here. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is officially the most disassembled the Vette has ever been. And it's about as daunting as I thought it would be. But this is good. This is progress. Better than being stagnant. Even if you're going backwards. Yeah, sure. That was a pain. That was a lot of rusty, crappy bolts and screws and nuts, and that was gross. And now for the reassembly. Because to race, we don't necessarily need headlights and other stuff to work. I just need this engine to work, and that's literally it. I need the engine. I need the wiring for the engine to function, and that is all. So this is the current state. Dash completely torn apart. ProFlow 4XT all intact and ready to rock and roll. As messed up as this may be, I think I'm going to end this video here while it's in complete dismay. Well, you guys are all believing there's no way. That dude's never going to get this done in time. What an idiot. Why is he putting so much money in an 85 Corvette? Why is his nose so big? All that stuff, you know. So, this is the beginning. This is the beginning of its full-fledged race car status. And, yeah. Thanks for sticking around, and I will catch you guys in the next video.